We won't wait on.
Yeah, so we're just waiting a couple of. Doing a little IT there. Okay, perfect. We are waiting on Mayor Ewing to join us. So for folks online, it'll just be a couple minutes. Thus, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you for your patience and mute the audio for those of us here in the room. All righty. Let's get them online.
Okay, we're good.
Your mic works.
Yeah, should be good.
All right, we can hear you, Josh. Hello, hello.
Hi there. Joining from my office in the truck.
I'll go ahead and press record on our recorder. Okay, you're good to go.
Good deal. So, a little hard to see on the owl, but it looks like we got everybody there, right? We got all five council members.
Well, no, not, we've got 3 in the room, so let's do like a roll thing here. So Britt Hornsby,
Yeah.
Jennifer Dockton.
Gary Haas, Spencer Long.
Wade.
Okay, Spencer's on Zoom as well. Good deal.
And it was 4:03 to start for 3 p.m. on Tuesday, January 20th, 2026.
Good deal. We've got a couple of sets of minutes to look at. Does anybody have any comments? I've got a couple of suggested changes on just the minutes from the 13th, but I wonder if anyone else has anything else to suggest.
I don't shoot, Josh. What are your notes?
Let me just get to the right tab here.
Just at the work session.
Yeah, the work session or the public hearing.
It's the work session.
All right, cool.
I'll see if I can navigate to it. Anyway, I think I can remember. One was in the section when we were talking about the Public Safety Committee. The minutes don't suggest that Gary was willing to take that on. And if my memory serves me right, Gary was willing to be our representative there. It just felt like maybe it's worth mentioning that in the minutes if Gary's still still up for that.
Yes.
Awesome.
I don't see it at all in the minutes.
So you need more notes, Josh?
Yeah, and then if you scroll down, let's see. So I gotta find the right tab here because this one I'm failing the memory. It was also, there was one where we mentioned that, um, let's see, are all these PDFs or were some of them Word documents?
I think that the public hearing draft came across as a PDF and the other draft minutes are in Word.
Ah, there we go. Okay, that's what I'm struggling. I was all looking for PDFs. Okay, there we go. This is much easier. I've got it highlighted. Oh yeah, on the last one on the cemetery board, it says Ewing recommends 3 members for the board, including a council member. I actually don't remember saying that one of the 3 should be a council member. We just discussed us having a council liaison to the board. Because we're going to appoint, or I'm suggesting today's agenda appointing 3 people, but there isn't one that's a council member. So I would just strike including a council member. Unless anyone else has a different memory of the discussion than me.
No, I remember it being a liaison. Aaron, is it better for notes if I do one at a time on these? Or, okay, sweet. So I'm just gonna do them one at a time. Motion to approve January 6, 2026 regular meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All right. So sweet. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes from Josh.
All right.
Spencer.
All right, unanimous, all opposed, none. All right. Motion to approve January 13th, 2026 CDBG public hearing minutes.
Second.
Sweet. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes from Josh.
Spencer, aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Motion to approve January 13th, 2026 town council work session minutes with Josh's notes as discussed.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes from Josh.
Yep. Nice.
Aye.
Thanks. It's unanimous. But. All right, now kick it back to you, Josh. It's public comment.
All right. Do we have anybody there in the room there that would like to make a public comment?
Malia.
Got a hand raised.
Malia Wood,
You wanna, yeah. we can-
I'll sit down. for my
Yeah,
public
but I'll
comment.
pick you up a little better.
Okay. Good afternoon, council. I am coming to you today as your Planning and Zoning Commission Chair. I have been honored with that position by my fellow commissioners. And I am following up with a request that I emailed that I haven't heard back from, so just curious if I will need to do it here in person. Per the Planning and Zoning bylaws, and part of my additional duties, Commission Chair will schedule an annual meeting with the Town Council and Planning and Zoning Commission to set priorities for the year. So I am requesting a joint meeting between Town Council and Planning and Zoning for a joint meeting to discuss priorities. Thank you.
That sounds fantastic. Have we done those as like a work session in the past?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm guessing we might just want to take a little time out, off of the meeting to think through schedules and when that might work best. We could maybe do it on our next work session. Although we were also thinking of maybe doing a tour of the community center for that. But yeah, let's talk about that and see what'll work for both bodies of people.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Anybody else here? Okay. Anybody online?
Folks online, feel free to raise that hand icon or put your name in the chat now. I am not seeing anyone. Josh, I think you're good to move on.
All right, thanks everybody. As we discussed in our last work session, we're ready to appoint some members to serve on the cemetery board. And I was able to review the applicants and am going to recommend an appointment of 3 folks to serve on that board. They include Tom Hisserod, Carolyn Harmon, and Kathy Carson are the 3 people that I'm proposing that we appoint. So I welcome any advice or discussion from the council about those 3 appointments.
If I may interrupt, this is number 3 on new business and we missed 1 and 2. Unfinished business.
Explainer.
Hey, thank you. I'm moving too fast. Anyway, we'll do number 3. We'll do number 3, finish that up and go back.
Yeah, I've done a lot of Tom's volunteered a lot with Bears Ears Partnership, the work I've done there, and he's great to work with. So I like Tom being on it. And then Carolyn works with us. I've done a lot of work with her, obviously working with her, and she's great, easy to get along with. Very good at any kind of conflict resolution stuff. So I like her, and Kathy's of course amazing.
Kathy is amazing. I like that Kathy probably knows the history of what's already in the cemetery as much as possible. So I think she's a good fit.
I know, well, Kathy's the only one I know. I've met Carolyn, don't know the other one. We know, I mean, are we privy to know who the 4th one was? Have an opinion on them or?
You are. I mean, it's the council's advice, and you can ask any. The 4th person was Ray Fouché, and Ray has some family members up there and has an interest in the cemetery as well. Always a little bit difficult to choose between folks, but that's the tough job of the mayor, is to put forward appointments. So that would be that's the 4th person, the person who I'm not putting forward at the moment.
Thanks.
All right. So do we need a motion to appoint?
Well, I think basically it would be. I think it's our practice to have a vote. Suggesting you are consenting to these appointments. That's the council's job, is to advise and consent. And I think if we have a formal record of the consent, that's probably good.
Cool. Awesome. Can I do it one for all 3? All right. Yeah, motion to approve appointments is recommended by Josh Ewing for 3 Bluff Cemetery board members, Carolyn Harmon, Tom Hisrod, and Kathy Carson. Good Lord, sorry, the 4th one threw me off. Kathy Carson.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
I
Aye.
I really don't know 2, so I'm gonna abstain.
I'll vote aye. Did we get Spencer voting?
Not yet.
Sorry, I was on mute. Aye.
All right. That is unanimous. Yeah, and Spencer's sick. So thanks, Spencer, for doing this remotely.
Just a quick clarification for the record, it would be 4 in favor, 1 abstain.
One abstain. Sorry,
Motion
that's right.
passes.
Sorry.
Sorry, nope, you're good. Thank you.
Thanks for everybody for your patience today with a couple of us being on Zoom. Always a little bit difficult that way. Let's go back to the unfinished business. Thank you, Malia. As we discussed in the work session last week, we recommended, we talked about putting in the CDBG grant application to support asbestos removal at the CCC. And we did double check that CDBG does like there to be a formal vote of the council to make that application, which I think we're working to try to get in before the end of the month. Does anybody have any further discussion on what we talked about last time? Any change of heart in terms of making this the subject of our CDBG application?
Just one more, Malia, could you, we had talked in the previous year about using the GOEO grant for asbestos removal. Do we have another thing to apply GOEO towards?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We have plenty of things to put other funds toward.
Okay.
And I still haven't heard back from Corinne of CERTA if all of our income surveys even allow us to apply, so
Okay,
we shall see.
So pending us being approved to apply, it sounds like we don't have any disagreement on applying for the asbestos. So maybe I'll call for a formal vote on that, and I will vote yes.
All right, so yeah, motion to approve community development block grant application for CCC asbestos removal project.
second.
Sweet. All those in favor? Aye. Spencer.
Aye. Sorry.
No worries.
Sorry, guys. I'm pretty out of it.
All right, and Josh voted yes as well.
Yep. This next agenda item we also talked about in the work session. We clarified that the local homeless coordinating council does need to be a member of the council. And when we talked about it, Jen, you had indicated willingness to serve in that role if it needed to be a council member. Are you still up for doing that?
As long as I have Ann Lepinen to help guide me through it, yes, I am.
Yeah, they should.
All right. Just to cover our bases, in case this needs to be a formal appointment. I'd also just like the council's advice and consent on this, seeing how it's one of our own. I imagine we're okay with that, but any discussion on Jen playing this role?
Thank you, Jane.
If anybody else has a burning desire for it.
No, it goes.
I'm fine working.
We can tag out if you. All right, let's see. So, motion to appoint Jen Davila to local homeless coordinating council representative.
No, second it.
You go. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Is that an aye from you, Josh?
Yes, aye for
Oh.
me. Thank
And
you,
aye from
Jen.
Spencer.
All right, yeah, we got you, lady. Unanimous, it passes.
Okay. All right. This next agenda item, we're going back down to new business. This next agenda item was suggested to be added to the agenda by Gary. And not being there in the room. Is Kristen there?
Yep.
I am.
All right. Are you up for giving a little bit of an overview of the on-site wastewater ordinance, and then we can have some discussion on it?
So, we've completed the final draft of the ordinance, which should have been included in your packet. just a little bit of background. It was identified back in October that we had a little bit of a problem here in town with people wanting to go for a septic permit. And Utah State Code currently requiring a 1 acre minimum. And so we started to work through that. We were originally hoping to have it done by the end of the year, but with hours running very short, ended up applying in December for a special project instead to be done and submitted by January. And I'd like to introduce Dennis Shumway and welcome him to our little town council here.
Thank you.
Dennis is representing San Juan Board of Health, San Juan Health Department. He is over septic approvals, environmental quality, and wastewater, on-site wastewater. So he is the guru on it. So just kind of how it went, I put together the draft. Little bit of background on the draft. San Juan County does not have any local requirements, and so we went directly off of the state requirements. And you can find all of those currently on the San Juan Health website, under the applications for that. And I'm gonna let Dennis take it away from here, just kind of the scope of it, and where we're at.
Thank you, Dennis Shumway, San Juan Public Health. I'm the Environmental Health Director. I was approached after we did a Septic Smart Week presentation here in Bluff in September. Many things were talked about. About a lot of things that included minimum lot size that's required for a septic to be put on any property. As Kristen said, we don't have any ordinance in San Juan County that specifies anything different than what state code requires. That's pretty common in most health departments, that they just go off of state code. It was brought up that years ago, Bluff was subdivided into many lots that were 0.4, 0.41 acres. And so though in the past, I believe those have been approved, maybe I'm the bearer of bad news with myself not wanting to get in trouble as I have been in this position for a few years, realizing that because we don't have anything specific towards Bluff, it does go back to state code. Obviously, we want to see growth and or people maximize the use of their property and building a home or something that they can use that requires septic. So I was approached with this idea that is would 0.4 acres work? The idea is that maybe. So a lot of questions were asked. I spoke with Kristen about this. Almost everything we could revert back to rules 317-4. So in this proposition of reducing to 0.4, the answer is yes, we can allow that. Just like we can allow anybody to build on a 5 acre lot, but that also comes with some stipulation. And I'll start with a 5 acre lot. It still requires all of the things that are in the ordinance that Kristen and I worked on. Everything in there is required for everybody else. So if you have 5 acres, but your soil doesn't work, it's too shallow, it's too slow, it's too fast, you could also not be approved for a septic system. And so this isn't anything different in a 0.4, other than we're basically saying, yes, we can make a 0.4 work. It still has to meet all the things required in code. I can't change what code requires for a septic, but I do have that one ability we can write something that says, can look at it at 0.4 and make that possible. So I think that's where we're at. Nothing in this proposal is different than what anybody else would need to meet. So I don't know if that could have been worded differently to state you still need a licensed wastewater designer to do a soil evaluation. You still have to have a licensed wastewater designer design your system for you. Now you can install it yourself as a home builder. That's no big deal. But it's the same as what anybody else in the state is required in the rest of the state. In fact, most of the state's been requiring it for many years. San Juan County's been about 2 years of requiring it. We're just a little bit behind. So we're trying to catch up. That's why I wanted to address this, get ahead of the problem before people may have wanted to sell or build or anything else on their lot. We also discussed in there, alterations to an existing septic. Those have to go through the same process, just like anybody else has to. Because though that's obviously, if you're expanding, we need to make sure your system can handle it. You have enough property to handle that. If you're changing tanks, if you're adding rooms to a home, obviously that's going to require upgrading the system. One thing that was in there that I noticed a question on was a replacement area. So you have to have the same footprint of when you put in a leach field, you have to have that same footprint set aside. That's just in state code. That is for not if your septic fails, that's for when your septic fails. And there's stipulations on what you can do with that ground, because you can't build on it, you can't put a road on it, you can't do many things, but that's just standard. We're not asking for anything different. I have been to many places where all of a sudden I'm finding their septic tank under a shed, or a leach field now where they built something on and their system has failed and they have no place to put it. So it's just any alterations need to go through the county. Again, this isn't really a town ordinance. This would be a San Juan County ordinance specific to the town of Bluff. As your soils can be very specific. There's sand. I think that's why some of this stuff would work, is because you do have some layers that would be a little faster moving. Those require a smaller footprint for your septic system. But the same setbacks and the same requirements would still be required. And an on-site soil evaluator would come and let us know if that 0.4 acres would work. So the answer is maybe. But it would at least allow somebody to have that option if the soils are appropriate. So that's kind of where I'll sit. Any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I want to add just a little more of how this bleeds out into other things, because that was a concern. It is obviously going to bleed out into minimum lot requirements for planning and zoning. It already is in the subdivision requirements that you have to get soils analysis per lot. I can speak personally to this. A lot of us have inherited somebody else's septic issue, and it has been very expensive for every individual to deal with that. And some of those parameters really suck. I mean, my septic is right in the middle of my driveway. I know that. I know it's not good for it, and that's where it's at. And so I think shoring up the state code requirements, which have been there, is a very wise way so that we can get ahead of this and stop having people have to inherit past kind ofs.
So I'll
there's
jump
that.
in. One other thing is, we have on there 1 acre. So let's say future subdivisions. I don't know if there's enough property in Bluff to make future subdivisions. Here's where I would probably throw a little caution that I wouldn't start subdividing any new property at 0.4. It's the reality of state code is 1 acre, 1.25 or 1.5, and that will depend on your soil. So there's where I get a little hesitant to say, well, how does this apply for future subdivisions? And does somebody have an acre lot right now? Oh, cool, now I can subdivide it. I wouldn't recommend that.
I'm gonna say that's gonna make building affordable housing really difficult in Bluff. The going rate for property right now for an acre of property in Bluff is pushing $100,000. So that's a lot of money, you know. I mean, so I really think that this is all something that we need to think about in our heads and keep moving forward. You know, when we're thinking about affordability for housing in Bluff. I also have a question about, rather than saying that even if you have a 5 acre lot and it doesn't meet standards septic specifications, I'm learning very quickly, there's a lot of alternative septic specifications. So I think that people need to hear just out in the open, that doesn't mean you can't necessarily build, it just means you can't do it with the standard system.
That's
And
correct.
at that point in time, if I'm reading correctly, the documents, that means we have to go to the state for approval of an alternative type system. Is that correct?
No, so alternative is still working through me.
Okay,
There's several types of systems. So yeah, alternative, there's where a lot of people, if they can't build on a 5 acre, they won't do it because an alternative, instead of, let's say, a $15,000 septic system, is gonna be more like $80,000 for an alternative.
right.
So they're very expensive. And so, while yes, you can still do it. But at 0.4, even an alternative, you probably may not have enough room.
Right.
So there's where a 5 acre lot you get away with, if you have the money to put into something like that, you can do so. But an alternative and or a experimental, which that does happen. Chris and I talked about that. It goes with you on the deed, so that way somebody knows when they're buying something.
That it's an alternative
That it's
system.
an alternative type system, but that's in code.
Mhm.
So all of these things, I'm not remaking code for Bluff. So,
Right.
yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, Dennis,
Jenny?
Josh here. Just super appreciate you being willing to come down on short notice and work with us on this. I think it is really important for making housing affordable in Bluff, that we at least have the option to try to make it work on the smaller acreage, and really appreciate you being willing to work with Kristen on this. I know it's been a lot of hard work, so we really appreciate that. And the work so far. Um, I have a number of questions about this, but maybe I'll ask if there are other council members in the room that have questions before we jump to them.
No, I don't.
Not a council member, but I will have a question at some point. This is Erin.
Why don't you go ahead, Aaron?
Yeah, so my primary question is regarding, the entity that would pass such an ordinance. So I know I saw the response regarding, of course, the health department reports up to San Juan County, but why would this process not go through something like an interlocal agreement where we would contract with San Juan County to have the health department as the responsible entity, but have Bluff pass the ordinance? Since this is Bluff land use policy. Why this method versus that?
Because there's 13 health departments in the state. San Juan County has its own individual health department. A lot of them are multi-county,
Sure.
but the ordinance lies in San Juan County, it lies within the purview of San Juan County Health Department, which is overseen by San Juan County.
Yeah, I guess, because I know we have, I think similar, but probably different enough, but. For example, when Bluff Incorporated, we put together a land use clearance ordinance, which specifically stated like Bluff has its own zoning code. But we would utilize through an interlocal agreement, San Juan County's building department, and they would administer, permits and everything. And so I see this as a very comparable situation where we are relying on the county with the resources provided, which is great. Really appreciate it. Super technical stuff that we are never going to be able, I shouldn't say never, that we will not have in-house for a very long time. But I am concerned about land use policy, even with something as regulated as this health and human safety issue, going to the county and saying they're going to create an ordinance for land use for an incorporated territory. And so I just want to make sure that council and we fully understand that this would be the best way to do it versus like the town being able to just go in with an interlocal agreement straight to San Juan County and saying, this is how we do it. So, and I know we are always very unique, so.
I have a little bit of background on that.
Perfect, thank you.
The interlocal agreement for building services was never,
Official.
we didn't have anything. It was a handshake deal.
Right.
It always was. So then when we want to break away from the county, so I think that's one hiccup, is for just the smooth and legitimacy of this ordinance. Like, I don't know what our current situation is for San Juan Health Department to bring services to Bluff. Like, do we have a written approved interlocal agreement with San Juan Health Department?
Probably not.
I'm not sure that's how it works.
Okay.
Yeah, so like Salt Lake Health Department, I mean, there's many, many cities. They are just oversawn by Salt Lake County Health Department. There isn't an agreement. You have a entity that oversees the public health for that county, so individual towns don't have that.
And that's why we have the Board of
And you
Health
couldn't
with
create-
representation.
Legally, you couldn't create your own health department.
Sure,
Right.
sure. No,
Yeah,
I definitely
But no,
understand.
so there's no, when I come and do inspections here, no, it's not, like working off an existing
Right, right, right.
agreement.
So that's my only question regarding entity, and I just specifically want to call out as an incorporated municipality. I really want to know the ramifications of having the county, drill down to this level of saying Bluff, lot sizes, everything. I understand the health and human safety. That is clearly at the end of the day what we're trying to get after. Our goals align on that. But from a legality standpoint, I just don't know if there are other municipalities that have this similar type of arrangement with the way that the ordinances are pushed through at the county level versus the municipal.
I guess they're already. I mean, I could already tell anybody in Bluff no on a septic system. And nobody could change that.
Yeah, Dennis,
So,
I
yeah.
appreciate,
Yeah, no, I understand that bit. I just, in terms of like, should we, the town, be trying to pass this ordinance and say
So,
we're fine?
so the town wouldn't pass. I mean, you guys could vote on if we move it ahead.
Right,
So it would be a San Juan Public Health via San Juan County ordinance for Bluff. But I would, as I'm thinking here, I would probably put something in there. The point 4 will be for existing lots, not for future lots.
Mm.
Just, I don't feel comfortable with saying for future lots without pushing this further up to getting other people's opinion on this. Again, I'm still a middleman where I said, I've got to take it up as well, but yeah, so I guess how it works already is, so, I mean, I've done it already throughout the county where I said, no, you can't have a septic, and they're part of Spanish Valley or.
yeah, oh no, I recognize as the approving body, of course, the health department, that's not what I'm questioning at all. I'm just questioning, should San Juan County, as in the San Juan County Commission, be approving the ordinance versus Bluff Town Council be approving a land use ordinance? But if this is truly just the San Juan County Health Department, that all of your ordinances or laws must go through San Juan County as the thing, then I suppose I understand that a little bit more.
Yeah, so anything we do, like, work on gray water systems. San Juan County is currently not opted in to allow any gray water systems. Do they exist here? Yes, but it's just like old septic systems. They did whatever, but that's an opt-in. I have to opt into the state code. I have to go through my boss, the Board of Health, and the county commission for them to do that. And specifically, it's been for Bluff already. People are interested in Bluff.
Right.
And so I guess this can be viewed in a lot of different contexts as well.
Maybe so in listening to that, maybe the focus then can shift. This is less about land use and more about this is health and human safety and does not impact our zoning and land use. We ourselves will be able to determine minimum lot size, subdivision, and everything else. This is very strictly health and human services.
Correct.
Is that a way that we could
Yeah.
phrase it internally?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
I have no say. That's, however, shoot, I see it all the time. And I mean, there's one in Blanding right now in LaSalle. When they propose and Kristen can speak highly to this, a subdivision, that's gotta come through me anyways.
Mhm.
And every lot has to have a soil analysis done. And also, let's say they're doing 1 acre lots. 3 of those lots don't meet that, all of a sudden they have to restructure everything. So it's.
So we can kind of see this as concurrent processes in which town of Bluff has our zoning code. And then there's health and human safety running on this side and they must kind of.
Yeah, I think here's the way I think what you're trying to say is our land use does not have to come up
Do
with a
anything
0.4
with
acre
any of
minimum.
this.
We could keep 0.25 acre lots. But those are not going to be allowed to be built on. So it behooves us to be responsible when we are reviewing our planning and zoning regulations, that they are matching state code, and this is state code. So technically, if we were ahead of the game, technically, right now, because state code is 1 acre minimum, we should not be allowing anything less than an acre right now.
So you've said that this would be written in as an existing lot, so.
That's not, we're gonna have to add that language, that's not,
In there is.
that's not as the draft is now, so I think
Yeah,
that's.
I probably missed chatting with Kristen about this. I would
Okay.
hesitate.
So, but my question goes back to, because this is what a lot of us, and if you need proof that septics do work on half acre lots, Bluff is your perfect example of, I mean, there are a lot of us who have had issues with our septic tanks, but there are a lot of people who have not. And this town has been in existence on septic tanks for at least probably 100 years.
Well, and our biggest thing is we have culinary water supply. That's one of the biggest factors for allowing.
That's why this probably, this works. If you had wells,
Right, but my question goes to, therefore, if we're saying it's an existent lot, that to me says that it's something that I can't remember what the proper term is. I know it's not grammar anymore, but,
No,
an
are you
exi-
thinking non-conforming?
not, well, if we have an existing lot that already has a system on it, and we want to add an ADU or something like that, are we still at the same problem that because it's recommended for existing lots, but not for going further, going in the future, is that gonna cause a problem with?
So I do think this needs to be very clearly stated tonight if we want to move this forward, if we do put in the stipulation for existing lots. Because if not, you are looking at that 1 acre minimum, and I respect your recommendation that, okay, we'll accept 0.4 as existing lots, but anything here on out, please plan on an acre. With that, anything, if I'm off track here, you're asking if there's a 0.3 existing lot, what is that?
No, I'm asking if I have a house on a half acre lot that has a current existing septic system and I want to add an ADU to my property, am I going to be able to do it? That's what I'm asking.
what's an ADU?
Accessory dwelling unit.
Apartment out back.
Most likely not. Already.
But if we did this, it
Again,
would depend if you can,
it would all depend on if you have room available. If your replacement area is big enough. You might have to dig up your tank and add a new tank and then extend your field. So it's not. For this scenario, it's for every place, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and so it's already there, I guess, so the answer is. Maybe. It all depends on. How big are you adding? What you wanna do with it. Yeah, so I can't give you a definitive because every lot is a maybe.
and that checklist is directly from the state. That's what you gotta prove on anything. So if you wanted to extend a system or add a ADU out back, you'd have to run through that same checklist.
Josh, did you have some questions?
Yeah, I do. On this point of the ordinance, and jurisdiction, I did some reading up on it and it makes a ton of sense to me. Sounds like, it looks like the state code allows health departments to pass ordinances to have a variance to the 1 acre, minimum. So it totally makes sense to me that, the health department in San Juan County has to pass that, and we don't have the authority under the Utah code to do that, the way I read it. Is that the same way you read it, Dennis?
Yeah, very much so, yes.
Yeah. So it makes sense to me. One thing that confused me, and it's still in the language here, but at the very top under C, it says, therefore, the town adopts chapter blank of the Bluff Municipal Code as follows. And it feels like to me like that is language that shouldn't be there in the ordinance, because right at the top of the page, it says it's a San Juan County Health Department ordinance and not a
agree.
Bluff code. So I'm guessing we would need to remove that language. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I would probably take this right up, meet with the county attorney, then we would come up with we would title it differently, yes.
Josh, which document are you looking at?
It's, let's see what the file name, says 4.0 on-site wastewater. It was in our packet. It's a PDF. At the top, it says San Juan County Health Department Ordinance number 2026 dash blank.
Okay, so it's the first C you're referring to, not the second or third or.
Yeah, the very first one at the top says, you know, town adopts this chapter. It just seems off to me that the town
We
would,
just realized, sorry to cut you off, we just realized it's not the final that was in your packet. So here's the final.
All right, I'm gonna update it
Sorry.
to the packet and then I'll share my screen so everyone can see it. Just one sec.
There were just some little grammatical things we changed, not,
And system.
yeah. Do I do that?
That was the only one that I caught.
It's probably because I was editing. My
Okay,
fixture
this is gonna be.
lead was or lead mud or.
but to just on this topic, if I'm following that right, that it's not a Bluff ordinance, we'll just need to make sure that there's no reference to it being a Bluff ordinance. I guess my question for you, Dennis, is how formal does our recommendation or request need to be to the department? And it's kind of a procedural thing, but like if it needed to be a formal resolution of the council, for example, our rules would not allow us to vote on that today. But if it could be, you know, essentially we support moving forward with this, you know, and it doesn't need to be a formal resolution, you know, we could take some action on it. So I just wonder if there is there, are you aware of, like, does it have to have a formal request in a resolution from the town, or is essentially if we say, hey, we want to move forward with this, you're good with that without it having to be a formal resolution?
I'm good with that. Dennis, go ahead and move forward with this, and I don't need a formal resolution. Again, this is my first time having anybody ask to have a minimum lot size change, so I'm learning with you a little bit on this. We're pretty informal. I can take it as this is what the town council wants us to at least proceed with, and we can run with it.
Okay, good. A question that I have is around the replacement absorption systems. The way this reads is that if you're replacing a system or upgrading, you know, for new construction, like of an existing dwelling, like you're adding on bedrooms, it reads that you have to install the replacement system at the time of construction and have the alternating valve in place. Not just have the space to do a replacement, but you actually have to install the replacement system. Is that what you intended in this? Because that's,
Yeah, I'll stop you there. So no, you don't have to install a replacement system to begin with. It's just a plot of land set aside. So that way, when the installed current system fails, you have the land to install a new one. So that can,
Josh, are you looking under D?
yeah, this be section 6D, and then section 6F. It reads as if that has to happen at the time of construction for approval.
you probably delete that whole D.
Or do you want to just say for a replacement system, the original absorption system, and replace the absorption system?
Let me read. So really, it's your original absorption system. I don't know what other to say other than you need a location identified that is set aside for a replacement system when each field fails. Now, again, you can't build on it, it's gotta just be available. You don't have to install anything other than have the ground available.
Yeah, so my suggestion would just be, because the way it reads, it says the original absorption system and the replacement system must be installed and inspected before approval is given. It seems to me that we just need to reword that such that the replacement system just needs to be installed if the first one is being replaced. has to be replaced. It just needs clarity there. And then down in F, the same thing. It says the property owner shall install the replacement system or extension absorption system prior to final approval being granted. Well, that's only if you need the replacement system, right? It's like, it's not, you have to have a regular system and a replacement system in the ground at the same time.
I would just say in the event, get rid of your strikeout, leave that. And I'd say in the event of a replacement system, no, at the very beginning of D.
I'm just trying to get rid of you said the strikeout is. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Maybe you should word it that that
In the event
the approved land must be available and unused.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, that's getting too far
But
down the
isn't that
road.
what Dennis
I'd just
is
say in the
saying?
event of replacing a system, an existing system, comma, the original absorption system and replacement, and then it all reads correct. The original, yeah.
Well, the original can be torn out at that point, because what you can do is tear out the original, backfill it. 30 years after the replacement's in use and it fails, you can go back to that same spot.
But you're just saying that you need to have a place available that you know that when your system fails, you're gonna be able to switch
That's all
to
that's
this.
required by state.
So therefore, to me, this denotes that you need to set aside and have marked on your property or something, the place where you plan to do this in order to get it approved. And have that denoted on your land plat or something that says, I'm not gonna put a shed here, I'm not gonna put a garage
So
here, I'm
it does
not
go on a
gonna.
land plat, so your on-site wastewater designer will put together a very detailed design. You'll have pictures and all of your different diagrams, and it will have highlighted in a map of your property. This is, and I have to,
Alternative system or alternative space.
yep, here's your space, and it has to be identified. And when I do my approval, I've got to make sure that that is enough and it is marked on that map. And so then when I approve it, there's 4 things I give back to the homeowner of, no, their receipt for when they purchase their septic permit, their on-site wastewater design, which will then, okay, an approval document that goes through and I check, to make sure everything meets code. This is even after I come down and inspect it. And then a 4th one, you get 4 documents. Anyway, as part of that, I have a drone now. So when that is being installed and everything's uncovered, I will take pictures of that and that will be in your design and in your final documentation. So that way everything's spelled out where everything's laid out. But yes, part of that design will clearly have to show where your replacement area is located. Now,
So maybe in this paragraph, rather than saying the original absorption system and replacement absorption system must be installed and inspected. The original, you could word it as the original absorption system and replacement absorption design. Or system must be designed and denoted by an inspector prior to construction. Rather than installed. I think Josh's problem was the word installed.
yes.
That's correct.
Designed and approved, yeah, approved.
Now, that doesn't stop somebody from building on their replacement area, because I'm not driving, that's not my problem.
Right.
That's somebody else's problem. That's the owner's problem.
Right.
They build and they also
Yeah.
their septic failed.
Yeah.
They're literally without
Yeah.
a place to live. So,
And I think what we're trying to say is prior to installation. Okay, gotcha, okay, we got that.
Thanks.
So
If we can just clarify that, and I guess, in a sense, it's not so much us wordsmithing this, because this is not our ordinance, it's a county ordinance, and, I'm assuming the county attorney will take a look at it and probably wordsmith it more, but that was just a clarification that I would request. And Dennis, along the lines of what Jen asked, what happens in a situation where you've got a lot smaller than 0.4 acres, say, for example, and somebody's septic fails? Do they have any recourse to be able to, try to, fix up their system? Or, would that be a situation where they have to go to some alternative type system?
all the above, yeah. I mean, we'd always like to find an option to make something work. Especially since there are homes on smaller lots already that don't meet the existing code of 1 acre. I mean, the best option is find something to help these people, whatever that is. And there are avenues to do that. The state's got money that people can apply to get a system replaced for free, and the state will pay for it, depending on financial situations. So, I mean, that's the best. I don't want anybody to move out of their home because they don't have a place to use the bathroom. Let's find a way to fix it. Now, again, that's looking backwards. I think we're trying to get ahead of this by looking forwards.
Right. Yeah, and you just want to make sure that we don't limit our options for working with people that are in a horrible situation. I don't see anything in here that would prevent you from working with them, but it wasn't also clear. So I just wanted to, get how you're thinking about that kind of situation, which unfortunately probably will have happen at some point.
Any more questions, Josh?
Let's see, I'm just going through my notes real quick here. I think, well, just to go back and confirm, Dennis, I think one of the things that threw me off with this idea that this is really nothing special to Bluff other than it allows for something to be considered was just my experience with having a lot of neighbors who have built systems even in very recent years on less than an acre. And my guess is, I think you said this at the beginning, is just that maybe that's how things were being operated in the past, and you're just wanting to be really careful to follow what's, in state code or in an ordinance at the county. And nothing's really changed, except for that you're wanting to be more careful maybe than has been done in the past.
That's what it boils down to. I mean, I have to put my name on this. The county's got to put their name on this. And all of a sudden there's a problem and I didn't do due diligence in following code, but I've approved it. As that would not be good for me or the county itself. A couple years ago, the county got sued for a similar circumstance with my predecessor, and it was very, very expensive. And I don't want to find myself in that same boat. And so, I mean, I not to downplay this document, the document could say Bluff is requesting a 0.4 acre lot size for existing lots for on-site wastewater, having to meet all other code. It could literally be that one sentence, because everything else is already in code. So I don't know if that changes anything, but
That really clarifies for me, because just that, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think however the county needs to have the ordinance, I'm fine with either way. I just wanted to understand that correctly. And, I understand it's like good to all of us be dotting our I's and crossing our T's, and then, later on down the road, when people get into a bad situation, yeah, you don't end up in litigation or something like that. So, I could understand that. And, it was out of context with my experience in Bluff over the last couple of years, reading this. So it's just really helpful for that to be clarified. Those were all of my questions, particularly just around the kind of the form of our recommendation. And needed to clarify that just to make sure we weren't going to try to take a vote that wouldn't be allowed under our rules. But I think as long as you're okay with a general thumbs up from the council, we could take a vote, move on to take a vote if the council feels comfortable with it.
I would like to maybe throw in one other thing so I go back with the right mindset. Would this, what are your thoughts on that? This is only applicable to existing current lots, but future lots still require the state minimum code.
When you say
And not-
future lots, like future subdivision, say someone has got 20 acres and they want to do a subdivision, and so that those would be new lots.
They would be new lots, and the reason I bring that up is because let's say, okay, well, it already is allowed for 0.41. But now you have 20 acres and you want to also do 0.41. But now you're putting so many septic systems so many close together or so close together. Now you're going to run into groundwater problems, and I hesitate wanting to go for a somewhere, if somebody has land and wants to subdivide, to allow Bluff to do future subdivisions at less than an acre.
That makes sense to me, but I don't want to speak for the council. But
I just wanted to bring it up for your discussion, not, I mean, I'm just an observer here.
Just gonna
any
say-
other council members want to weigh in on that point?
Just gonna state right now that I have a conflict of interest in this because I am a property owner with a lot to sell. I think that if we limit to 1 acre lots, that we're gonna make housing unaffordable in this town. And maybe if we want to have I think currently splitting a 1 acre lot into 2 parcels is different than putting a 20 house subdivision on something. So I think that if we want to have a maximum lot size to be subdivided with something like that, that we could write that in there. But currently to split off a half acre lot, I don't think it's considered a subdivision. I think it's called a lot split. And it allows a half acre lot to still have a single family home residence built on it.
It currently does not.
Well, no, I'm just saying, if we went with the way that we've done it in Bluff for 100 years, that's, and maybe it's the case that that's not the case, and if that's the case, then I propose that we look at alternative forms of wastewater removal.
I don't want to open up a can of worms with this, but this,
Let's go. We
I
got that.
don't even know if I should utter this. I mean, this is something you don't talk about at the town potluck, but this is a Band-Aid I personally feel to the bigger sewer problem. And that is that if we allow 0.4 on everything, how that could add so many more septics to our town area, thus potentially polluting our groundwater sources. Because overall, in the big view of it, we're doubling the amount of septics in the town area. And so, I hate to be devil's advocate here, but this is a Band-Aid. And the existing lots and moving forward has to be 1 acre lots is protecting our ground. I mean, there's a lot to things to juggle here. That's protecting groundwater a little bit more. If we totally leave it 0.4 for everybody, that's potentially polluting groundwater more. And the bigger issue, I think, coming down the line is how do we deal with wastewater, period. And I'll leave it at that because that's a hot topic in this town. But that is of consideration, and one thing that we talked about in the grand scheme of Bluff, moving this forward would allow a double amount of septic tanks in this town. And that could turn into an issue.
Yeah, I agree that it's likely a Band-Aid, and sometimes Band-Aids are needed. And I would suggest we focus on the Band-Aid for the moment. And I guess what I would say, Dennis, is like we said, this is your county ordinance, and you've got to be comfortable with it as the person protecting the health for the county. And I totally respect that. And so if you felt like you needed to put in, for existing lots versus future lots, I think it's up for, we as a town really need to think about our ordinances for subdivisions and so forth. But I wouldn't want that discussion to prevent us from, doing something like this to benefit existing lots and to clarify for existing, property owners. Because it really, there are, we do believe there are people like waiting to make purchases and build houses based off of this discussion. So.
Could you look at it as something, I mean, we just redid our subdivision code for state codes. Could you look at it as like a major subdivision would not, like, this would not cover a major subdivision, but might cover a minor subdivision of up to 6
That's getting
divisions?
into land use. And this is, we gotta make
True.
sure those are
True.
2 and 1. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be as per our land use regulations of the town.
I mean, we're also relying on town zoning code of a minimum half acre in residential, as well as all the setbacks. Bluff has pretty substantial setbacks in all zones. Just food for
Yeah, that
thought.
half acre obviously is something we would want to talk to planning and zoning if we go forward with this, because it seems weird to have require a half acre, but you can do a septic on point, you could potentially do a septic on 0.4. That's probably something we need to fix in our code, but not relevant to the county's ordinance.
Well, but Josh, moving forward, a half acre would not be approved by the San Juan Health Department is what is being said. So at that point in time, what we would need to address with our planning and zoning is rather than requiring a half acre for a single family home, you're going to now require an acre of property for a single family home, not a half acre.
And new
That's
subdivision.
not what I'm understanding here. I think Dennis is saying that you could do 0.4 on an existing 0.4 acre lot. It's just that you couldn't necessarily subdivide. But for all the existing lots that are between 0.4 and 1, he could now consider it, whereas right now under the law, he's not even allowed to consider it.
That's correct.
Am I understanding that right, Dennis?
Yes, anything currently at 0.4 or larger, this is what this would address. Going forward, anybody who wants to do a lot split or a subdivision, there's where I hesitate to say that there would be support from the health department to allow that. That we would stick with what is in current code of 1 acre minimum. I mean, you can lot split all you want, it's just to build and put a house on. I mean, that falls in your ordinance to do that, but I'm just here for the Band-Aid on the existing problem, not for
Yeah.
future.
So I guess I should go file my lot split tomorrow and then I guess to be approved.
That's good. I didn't hear that.
Well, it's on public record, so everybody heard it.
Are there any other discussion items or questions on this topic for Dennis? I just, again, really appreciate your time and willingness to talk through with us. It is a fairly complex issue that, I'm just getting up to speed as a new elected official and, reading all about this. So appreciate your patience with our sometimes maybe dumb questions. Any other questions or discussion from the council on this?
I think we're good here, Josh.
I will state I'm available, phone calls, you have questions moving forward. Talk to half this room all the time, always here to help. Honestly, I'm here to make things better. Have a great relationship. I mean, that's the point of this, is to have a partnership. So I appreciate it.
We sincerely appreciate your attention to detail and for ensuring the health and human safety of all residents of San
Yes,
Juan County. I have felt much more confident in how you have been approaching things, and we just really appreciate it. It's very necessary. So thank you. And thank you to Kristen for, I know both of you, this was a lot of work. So thanks for pulling it together.
So with that, I think let's move to the final item, which, Gary, you had suggested that we, have a vote on that. And I'm comfortable with us doing that as long as it's, not phrased as it being a resolution, but simply a show of support for this direction and for the county to keep moving forward with their ordinance. And then we're not passing our own ordinance tonight.
We can do consensus without a vote, right? Like just verbal consensus without.
I think I would prefer, Britt, that we take a vote on it and we're on the record, supporting this direction. it doesn't, like I said, it's not a resolution. It's not, a formal resolution, but I think it's, enough of an important issue that it probably makes sense that we actually do, take a vote. It doesn't have to be a roll call vote or what have you, but, just that Dennis can formally say, if he gets asked by the county, hey, are these guys in it? Like, yeah, they voted to support us moving forward.
I mean, I'm comfortable with moving forward. I will say that like just my preference, especially with any kind of anything like this, is man, it's awesome if we can try to pace it with it being hitting a work session or something. So we've got space to talk. It's hard to even vote like this on things we're seeing pretty quickly. So just for future reference, it's much better. You got that space, no
And
matter what it is.
I will say, Kristen, she had been working to get the drafts over to us. They were available last week. And so with just her report out to planning and zoning, it kind of moved this issue more quickly. So I appreciate everyone's, time and looking over everything, but I definitely hear where you're coming from, Brett.
And
And
definitely no criticism.
Even-
Body, just saying for our own, just so that it's hard.
We're gonna, we hustled our. Done the
So-
first Friday of the month,
So,
and so that's where we got.
yeah, it's sweet. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
Britt, I totally agree with you. I think it's better practice for us to take a bit of time with some of these complex things. I think, don't want to speak for Gary, but I think he thought there was maybe, some urgency there, and I respect that. So, if we feel like needs to be more time to discuss this, I'm totally okay with that too. I think after all these answers, I'm comfortable with the basic, premise that we're supportive of moving to the 0.4 when possible, and to encourage Dennis to keep working on this with the county. I'm personally okay with that, but if other folks want to take more time, I would say now's the time to speak up about that.
No, totally comfortable with doing it. It's more just like a comment to, as we're a new council with each other, just, you know what I mean? And no criticisms anywhere. It's just a live wire of a topic that you can accidentally tie your shoes together.
State if we are going with existing or as written, because as written does not include existing lots. So we need a very clear vote of support which way you want to go with that. So we can make those red line adjustments.
I'll, before you answer, I'm in no hurry. If I don't have a dog in this fight,
Okay,
I don't. This could be now, this could be in 2 years from now. I don't care. Other than if people want to build or sell, they can't. Or I should say, sell a buildable lot, but right now it's 1 acre.
Mhm.
So I'm patient. It's just up to you. Y'all what you want to.
I'm probably gonna abstain from the vote if we vote on it now. I think we need some more work on it. But I don't wanna hold anybody else back either that's already got skin in the game that can't build on what we've already got determined, so.
I agree
So
with,
what-
I think I agree with Jen on this, like some more time with it.
One logistical question, in your relationship with San Juan County, commissioners, is there gonna be any pushback on their side regarding pushing this through compared to state code?
They're only going to refer to my opinion because they don't know a thing about wastewater.
It's so nice to have experts in the field.
So,
Thanks, Dennis.
I don't see any pushback and very few questions on this.
Thank you.
My only comment would be is that from what I've gathered over the last few months is they put a lot of work into this.
Definitely.
And they did approach us earlier to get on the agenda to discuss it prior to planning and zoning. And it didn't happen, which would have been a work session.
Okay.
And so then when I did hear it on the planning and zoning and got it and everything that they put into it, all the answers to all the questions. I think there comes a time we need to step back and kind of trust our building department and what they say, and if we can't currently build on anything under 1 acre, this does allow those to go down that are out there that are smaller acres.
I agree with, I don't disagree with the fact that we need to fix the smaller acre. That's not my issue. My issue is the
Lot size going.
lot size, yeah. That is, and that's not necessarily a Dennis issue. That's, like we've said, that's a land use issue. That's an everything else issue. I don't disagree at all with the moving forward with a half acre existing. I would just like to see it extended into more than that. And like I said, I do have a personal conflict in this, so that's part of my abstention as much as anything.
Well, in this case, what I'm hearing is that I think there would be, support for the, as written version. And it would be,
Yes.
adding on, future lots that is a more problematic. So, we could entertain just voting on that as written. And then, it again, like I said, it is up to the county and up to Dennis and the health department as to what they pass. It's not actually our ordinance, but we could at least say we're on record supporting it as it's written and allow people of 0.4 or larger lots to move forward. So would
Yes.
I'm comfortable with that. Spencer, are you comfortable moving forward with that, with as written?
Yes.
All right, sweet. Then I will make a motion to vote to support San Juan County Health Department and San Juan County approval of an on-site wastewater ordinance as.
I'll second that motion.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous.
Now, Jen, sorry, just to clarify, did you want to abstain on this or? I mean, you stated your potential conflict, but I just wanted to.
I did state my potential conflict, and I can still vote as long as I have stated my potential conflict, so I'm comfortable voting for this, yes.
Okay. So
Unanimous.
then that's unanimous then.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Sorry, like I said, it's just that we're not quick at reacting to live wire thing like that, so thank you.
The issue in Bluff has been for 50 years.
I know, that's what I was like, don't even go there.
It's a touchy, so awesome.
Again, I will state, the reason this is possible in Bluff is because you're not on wells.
Yeah, I
Yes.
agree, yeah.
That's grateful you're not on a well, because there's a 100-foot standoff in any part of the septic.
Yep.
So,
I'm
I'm very fortunate to be on culinary water.
And it's a topic that ends up spiraling out and touching so many different things. I mean, there's a lot of fact finding stuff we talked about wanting to do about the current pollution on the groundwater. So it's just one of those quilted ones as soon as you start pulling,
The only other comment that we probably need to go into this is if there are lots that are 0.41, but don't have access to your culinary water system, they just wouldn't have it. So there's something else to think about is, okay, well, we have access to, anyway, it blows up in the state codes. And that's a lot of why it's a 1.5 acres. It's a lot of people's wells are all over, and all of a sudden they bump into each other, because it's not just from your own well for the septic, it's your neighbors and your neighbors and your neighbors.
Mhm.
You can't encroach on any of those, so that's part of why this.
So I know this needs to go to the health department and then on to San Juan County. When that goes on to San Juan County, would you let us know so we can have representation there?
Absolutely, yeah. And in fact, I invited Kristen and whoever else wants to come to when it's presented to our Board of Health, that's where it goes first. It's a public meeting and any or all people are welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Britt, I don't have any other items. Do other council members have anything else before we adjourn?
I think I have one other, I think I'd like, maybe this is something that we could bump on to a work session or something. We've done so much onboarding this last month. You guys have done a great job. I know it's been a whirlwind of reading everything and taking trainings and stuff. I think one of the things I'd like to chat about is, and not tonight, but at maybe a work session, is our procedures, just how we want to run meetings, how things go on an agenda, just so we're all on the same page on how this all will work together. Especially it's a new council. Spencer was partway in on the old one, so had an old way of doing stuff. But I want us to make sure that we're all following policy as written, and if we have issue with any policy in written, working to change it or anything like that. But I just wanted to bring that up. Particularly of those two things, just to make sure we're in compliance with what we've said we'll do. And we're comfortable continuing that. And then, and especially talk about agenda and so the public can hear how we do it as well.
I
For sure,
agree. And
Britt.
I also would like to add just maybe our next work session, if we could kind of lay out some of the things that we want to work on as a council for the next year, I would appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
Or just kind of to know what direction we're running in.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, like I said, everybody's done a great job onboarding, drinking from the fire hose, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought maybe just circle up next month, once the dust has settled a little bit and do some of this nitty gritty. So thanks, Josh. That's all I had.
All right, well, I think we are good to adjourn, and thanks everybody for this discussion. And again, thanks Dennis for coming down.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no
Thanks,
problem.
Kristen. Thanks, Dennis.
It is 5:21.
All right, turning everything off. Bye,
Thanks,
folks.
thanks, Josh.
guys.
Safe travel.
You guys.